The motion be agreed to, and I give the call to the member for Bruce.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Isn't this fantastic? A motion about quarantine and borders, and it's all about the states. I mean, 10 out of 10 for creative nonsense and blame shifting that this motion is. Continues the Morrison government's slippery slope to blame shift everything for the states. Now, in case anyone read the Australian Constitution and thought the Commonwealth was actually responsible for quarantine and borders and international arrivals, the motion tells us it's the state's fault that there's 41,000 stranded Australians. It's not the Commonwealth government, it's the state's fault. It's the state's fault that tens of thousands of partners, husbands, wives, children of Australians are stuck overseas. It's the state's fault that international students aren't allowed to come to Australia, and we're literally destroying, annihilating, your words, Member for Bowman, the international education industry. I mean, I was left wondering, wishing if only we had a national government that was actually responsible for the stuff that they're responsible for if you read the Constitution. I mean, seriously, this motion is no, 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 no. The fact is, the Morrison government is responsible for quarantine and borders. In the last 3 months, every one of Australia's biggest 5 cities have had outbreaks from quarantine, and I agree with the member opposite. The social and the economic disruption that this has caused is profound. Australians are losing patience, but the answer is not to keep blaming the states, playing the blame game. Be clear, Commonwealth are responsible for quarantine. It's in the Constitution. The Commonwealth has always had responsibility for quarantine and international borders. If you're an animal or a horse, if you're a dog or a cat or a horse, you go from the airport into the Commonwealth quarantine facility. But if you're a person, apparently it's the state's problem. When it really matters, though, the Prime Minister runs away. Not to Hawaii, literally this time, but he's running away from responsibility. You wouldn't find a politician in this parliament, not one, that's made more and banged on about how he's in control of the borders, he's going to keep us safe, he's going to manage the borders and keep all those nasties out. He turned away the boats, but he's turned his back on 41,000 Australians who are desperate to come home. They were going to be home by Christmas, weren't they? How'd that go? That was an untruth, if ever there was one. It was just a line at a press conference, just an announcement that we did not deliver. But it's not his fault, of course. He's just an impotent, poor little man. He's not in charge of anything. He just wanders out with all the flags behind him and announces whatever the premiers agree to. That's not leadership. That's not leadership. I mean, the previous speaker's gone on about the need for training and infection control and workforce, and agree, all of these things. All of these things are in the report that's been on the Prime Minister's desk, the report that he commissioned himself from Jane Halton. It's been on his desk since October. It's called the National Hotel Quarantine Review that he asked for, and it says national standards are needed, a workforce plan for quarantine, PPE, consistent standards, training, infection control training. Now, it's fun to bash the states and Dan and Victoria and all your favourite little enemies, but it is way past time to act. The report has not been responded to. It's sitting on the Prime Minister's desk saying, do all this stuff. Do all this stuff. They haven't done anything. They just wander out and blame the states. The health of Australians and the economy depend on it. And I agree with the previous speaker. We're going to still need hotel quarantine in the coming months, maybe for a couple of years, we don't know, because no one's safe from this virus till everyone in the world is safe. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. That's what we get told by the international development experts, by the health experts, that the whole world needs to be vaccinated so we don't have reservoirs of this virus mutating into more infectious strains, so we're going to need these facilities. But it's way past time that we look at dedicated national facilities outside capital cities, national standards for PPE. But the final thing I just want to acknowledge and call out, I mean, it's the height of hypocrisy for any government member to profess care and concern for international students when they're led by a man who told students to literally go home, made people feel so unwelcome in this country, has done nothing for the international education sector, our 4th biggest export sector. Tourism got $240 million of support in the budget. What did international education get? $0. Literally nothing. I mean, it's all very funny for the government to say, oh, we're not going to help universities, ha ha ha, they'll lose jobs, silly universities, we don't like universities. Well, what about the reputable private businesses that are literally facing the cliff in July. They're literally going to go broke and this government does nothing. It's not good enough to blame the states. You've got to take responsibility.